agreeing to be interviewed. Now, Alex, you have autism, is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Now, there's a lot of debate on the internet between those who say that, you know, autism is just a difference, and there are those who say no, autism is a disability. You know, what are your views on this?
I'd say for those who are extremely high functioning, who can live a normal life without much trouble at all, I think it's not so much a disability, it's more of a way of thinking. For those who are more impacted by autism and need a lot more support and all that, I think it should certainly be viewed as a disability so that people can get the right support that they need to get as much out of life as possible, and of course so that they can just get the right support that they need. But also, even in that case, I think it is often still a difference, because even though they have a lot of difficulties which they need a lot of help with, they also have positives. They can make up for it in other ways. And I'd also say that a lot of the things that that I said that people with autism don't do, that other people do, they actually do the same things, but just in a different way.
Yeah.
For example, it's said that autistic people struggle with empathy. And I have a lot of trouble understanding how other people think or feel. But at the same time, I do experience it in another way. For example, if I watch a film, and I see like something which would be really painful, a really painful thing to happen to someone, I'd almost feel like it was happening to me. Or if someone talks about something which would be painful in great detail, I'd feel like I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Another way in which it affects you. Another example, I think, is when it comes to like conversations and things.
Yeah.
Other people can actually, like I have a hard time like talking to people, even if I know them, about something which I have no interest in. If they're talking about things which everyone else talks about, day-to-day things.
Yeah.
Like what are you up to? What I'm up to these days, and what job they're doing, and that kind of thing. That'll completely bore me, and I'll have no idea of what to say. I'll be like, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So other people don't have that problem so much. However, I'd say other people do have the same problem with me in other ways. Like I do actually, I can talk about things which I'm interested in. And for other people, and they'll actually have the same experience that I'm having with them, but it'll just be about a different subject.
Yeah, that's right. So you feel that it's a case of living with one another and accepting and trying to make an effort to keep the conversation going. So you feel. So in a sense, you feel that it's a disability, but you also want to focus on the positives as well. Because
it's kind of like a difference. It's a bit like most. You often do. A lot of the time, your focus is all on one thing, as other people tend to be. They tend to be focusing on the big picture. As autistic people tend to be focusing on the one thing. Because all of their attention is on that one particular thing, they'll tend to know loads and loads of things about that one thing.
Yeah.
Far more than other people do, and I think that's kind of the cause of obsessions.
Yeah. So do you think? I read the other day that to go into your interest is a place of getting rid of it's like a place to relax and remove from all the stresses of the world.
Yeah.
Do you feel that that's the case? Yeah.
Yes, I'd say so.
Something that really interests me. You talk about when you do your stimming. You say you go to what's the word you call it? It's I
used to call it thinking club.
The thinking club, yeah. And you know what happens in the thinking club?
Basically, I replay things that have happened, and I tend to kind of think over them, and things that have happened in the past, or I'll imagine things that have happened that haven't happened, or I'll imagine that I'm in a world that
Yeah.
I'm not. So I'll imagine that I'm actually a certain character.
Really, yeah.
That I might imagine I'm Gollum or something.
And while you're doing that, you're really stimming. Yeah.
Or I might be quoting things I might have be kind of like repeating in my mind things that people have said to me, and I'll be replaying conversations. That's a lot of the time when I'm doing that, I'm actually whispering. I'm actually repeating what has been said.
Yeah, it's quite sort of and so that is almost therapeutic for you. You really, really need to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
For how many hours a day?
I never kept track of that.
Long time. So Alex, if you don't have time during the day to go to the thinking club to stim, how do you feel?
I get really, really stressed, I'd say. Well, also, if I never get time to do it, I think, well, I would end up doing it anyway. Just because I couldn't, control doing it altogether. No. It's a bit like, it's a little bit like having OCD. You cannot help but doing it. You might try not to do it. And I know it sounds quite straightforward, just don't make the movements, but I honestly cannot not make them.
Yeah. When you were younger and you were having ABA and the consultant decided that they wanted to stop you doing that stimming 24 hours a day, and that was the point when we felt, well, we can't go any further. ABA has come to the end where it can help you, because it was obvious even to us that you still needed that time. But how do you feel about trying to stop children with autism from stimming all the time?
I think it's terrible. It definitely should not be stopped altogether, because it helps a lot of people cope with stress and anxiety, and of course it's part of the way in which they focus on things which are interesting. I think it certainly should be maybe controlled to a degree, because, well, at least in my case, it did kind of take over my life. I was doing it all day, every day.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it was controlled to a degree, but it definitely should not be stopped at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I think when some of the people with autism, I think some of the few that have managed to, have learned to stop their stimming, a lot of the time it gets kind of replaced with other things. They often have a lot of severe anxiety in their life.
Yeah. So you think that it's a way of coping, really? It's part of managing. So do you think that stimming is in the bracket of difference or disability? This not being able to stop it.
I'm not sure about that.
Do you think?
I think it's more of a well, not being able to control it is obviously kind of. I think it is more of it's more of a difference, really.
Yeah.
What were you going to ask?
I was going to say, that there is this talk of sort of the idea that disability is something that it's society's perceptions, and if society could accept the difference, it would no longer be a problem. Do you feel that's the case with STIM? If you could make everybody in society just not even notice you stimming, do you think that would make life an awful lot easier for people with autism?
Yes, definitely. I think that would make it a lot easier if people just accepted it. I actually think because autism is a hidden disability, you often get behaviours that are in autism often get accepted a lot less. When it's something's a physical disability, if someone's in a wheelchair, they get accepted because it's something you can see, or if someone has Down syndrome, it's something you can see. Or sometimes even with just general learning difficulty, you can see. But with autism, because it's a hidden disability, and a lot of people, at least on the mid to higher end, often don't even come across as if they have anything wrong with them. People just take people just think that they're behaving badly or just really oddly.
Yeah, and that in a sense is part of educating society, isn't it, really? So that people will understand. Because, if you're going along and you see a group of teenagers and they look quite cool and you're walking past them, what do you think? Do you think I've got to really control this here? Yeah, does it make you feel conscious of it?
Yeah, well, whenever I go out in public, I try and control it if I can. But I do especially try when I see a gang of teenagers or something. I go, okay, look completely normal.
It's a big effort.
Well, it's not always. Okay, put your hood up and pretend to be up now.
Yeah, and so overall, it's quite sort of you feel that this is an area where people could help you.
Yeah.
Do you think you will ever reach the point where society will accept stimming as just a difference?
I don't know, but I think there will always be people that don't really understand.
Yeah, and it's not really worth worrying that much about it, is it? So for you personally, do you feel it's just a difference or a disability?
Well, I'd say I'd fall more into the second category than the first category because I do have a lot of difficulties which I do need a lot of support with to be able to succeed. But again, I think I do still make up for it in other ways. So
what examples would the other ways be?
Okay. Well, there's my ability to speak about autism for one. See, a lot of the time when you've got autism, you can actually use your possessions to your advantage. And autism has been for a long time one of my biggest interests. Mm-hmm. And I've over the years gathered more and more information about autism. So I've been able to, even though I may struggle to have an everyday conversation with someone, I can speak in front of hundreds of people about my condition. Also, of course, there's I don't want to sound big-headed here. As my gift of photography. And filmmaking. Also, I'd say I have an unusual way of looking at things. And certain things I don't think as deeply as other people do. For example, when I saw this gerbil, we used to own gerbils, and when I saw one of them out of its cage, I just turned around. I was on my computer and I turned around and saw the gerbil. I said, "Oh, that's a gerbil. I'll put it back in its cage." And then I just went back to the computer. Other people, I think, would be more like, "The gerbil's out of its cage? How did it get out of its cage? How can I stop it from getting out of its cage again?" I didn't think like that at all. I just thought, "Oh, it's out of its cage. I'll put it back in." I know it could have been worse still. I could have left it out, but But anyway, in other ways, I think deeper than other people do. And I can think of things about a certain thing. I think because of my literal take on the world, I think I kind of think a bit deeply about certain things, and I kind of notice things about other people completely miss, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And you feel that that's a positive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have an interest, you can have like a good outlook.